Okay, so in this lecture, we're going to continue talking about selection tools, and we're going to really quick go over the magnetic lasso tool, and then we're going to dive into the one that you're really going to love, which is the quick selection tool. We have one more lasso tool, so we'll hit Shift L, and remember I can scroll through these. We have the magnetic lasso tool. If you look up here, you'll see what I'm talking about. Magnetic lasso tool, regular lasso tool, polygonal lasso tool, and back to the magnetic lasso tool. That's the one we're going to try now. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit more. Instead of using the Z key, I'm just going to hit Alt and scroll with my mouse, and it's going to zoom in wherever I'm aimed. And then I'm going to slide my image a little bit using another shortcut which we've worked on. Hit the space bar to get the hand and drag and move. We'll just get that right there. Okay, when we release it, it goes back to your magnetic lasso tool. And the way this works is you just click once and then you drag. I've released the mouse, so it is just dragging along, and you're going to see it's going to just try and grab the sharpest line that it can find. And you can see that for the most part it does all right, but notice if I get off of the line a little bit, see I'm like pulling up here, it's still trying to pull. Well, it didn't do that. Let me hit the backspace to go back a little bit. If I'm up above the line a little bit, it's still going to kind of pull and snap down to the line. If I'm below the line, it's still going to do the same thing. See, it's trying to snap up to that line. And sometimes it won't do what you want. This is best for very jagged objects, but that have a sharp line, a sharp edge. Okay, so for instance, like see, it's not behaving right here. So what I can do is just hit backspace, and then I can actually manually set it here. I can go to where I want it up on this ridge of snow that's kind of the same color as the background, and I'm just going to click, and that will manually mark anchor points. All these little dots here are anchor points, and then I can go back to just dragging if it's going to work for me. And that's working all right, so we can go with it. But again, you can see it's going to miss some of those spots. So again, this isn't the most ideal selection tool, but it does have its place. And then if I want to close this one, then what I do is just drag it all the way back around. Same deal. I have to get to the beginning, the starting point, and make sure I see that little circle next to the magnet tool. It's hard to see on this mountain, but once you get there, then you click and it has your selection. Okay. And then finally, let's look at the best selection tools in my opinion and most people's opinions. Hit Control D to deselect that, and we'll go to the quick selection tool. The magic wand tool used to be the good one, and it is okay if you're going to select something that's exactly the same color. Like if this sky was all the same color, like a bright blue, then I could click once on it and it would select the whole sky, but it's a little finicky. And the quick selection tool is honestly just the crown jewel. So we'll select on that. Again, you can hit Shift and W to scroll back and forth through these and make sure you're on the quick selection tool. And the nice thing about this tool is I can actually go to full screen, Control 0. I don't have to be zoomed in super tight, and I can just select these mountains, or I can even select the sky and then select the inverse. So let's do that, because the sky is a little more consistent. It's going to be easier to select. So I'm going to cruise through here like this. I'm going to select everything and see how it just like snapped and selected everything. And you'll see it's still not perfect, right? But that was so much faster, and there are easy ways to modify it. All you have to do is hit the Alt key, Option key on your Mac. You'll get a little minus, and now we can subtract from the selection. So we don't want the mountain selected along with the sky, so we go and we just click and drag over these parts of the mountain. And the cool thing about this tool is it gets smarter as you go. So as I'm selecting these mountains, it's learning what I'm trying to select, and it's going to do a better and better job as I go. And again, if you have a spot that misses, I thought I had one back here. I don't see it now. But, I missed a spot here, so you just click. And, there's a spot that's supposed to be sky. Oh, whoops. So I want to change this back to the sky and make it part of the selection. I release the Alt key and I just click and reselect that. I can hit the Alt key and take some of this out of the selection, take a few of these little things, and there's a whole little corner over here that got missed. Okay, so you do that. Oh, there's a spot right there. Okay, so I'm selecting everything just right. And the other thing you can do with this tool is if you zoom in, we'll zoom in a little bit, you can get a better view of what you've done or not done. So I can go and refine this even more. And you'll see it kind of jumps and moves to kind of suit what I'm selecting because it's learning what I want, which is super cool. And what you do is you just use the space bar and the hand tool and you move along the edges like this, and you can just keep selecting things. Keep fixing and refining, and it doesn't take much before you're dialed in and you've got everything the way you want. Okay, and anytime you make a selection, it's good to do that through the whole thing. You know, just keep moving along and selecting and moving on along and selecting. We're not going to get too detailed with it on this one because I just want to show you. I'm going to scroll back out, and then now we have that selected. And again, if we wanted to do the inverse of it and select the mountains, we go to select and we just click inverse, and now you'll notice the marching ants are down here, so I've got this selected. Okay, so that's really the quick summary of the selection tools. They're hugely powerful, and in the next lecture what I'm going to show you is how we can take this image and make it look like this, just by using another background image and our selection tools that we just used. Okay, so before you go take that next lecture, go and play with the tools. Just pull up any old picture. You can pull up this mountain scene. This is one of the downloads for the next video, and practice just making selections and then hitting Control D to deselect, and practice your keystrokes. Use the M for marquee, L for lasso, and W for quick selection tools. Use your Shift key to toggle through them and just play with them, okay? Then dive into this next lecture and I'll show you how to do some awesome things with the parts of your image that you're selecting. I'll see you in the next lecture.